Arsenal finally started their Premier League season with a comfortable 2-0 win at the Emirates against Wolves. Although comfortable in result, there was definitely some tricky situations that Arsenal got by and some interesting performances within the team. With that being said, let's go through Arsenal's first win of this season and what we can expect to see from them in the next few weeks. Let's get into it. Now, of course, going into the season, there's going to be a lot of nerves. We don't know what to expect, even though we know Arsenal will be at a very high level just because of who we are and the preseason that we had. But Wolves were definitely a team that you didn't really know what to expect, and they've always given Arsenal very good games, especially in the Emirates in the last few years. However, the result was what mattered today. Last season, the first game of the season was against Nottingham Forest, which Arsenal won 2-1 in comfortable fashion, but they still struggled to create some chances, and there was a few tactical issues and problems that were started by new systems in play. Now, I think this game was actually a lot more comfortable than that last year, but I still felt there was some sort of tactical problems that we had because we didn't necessarily have that familiarity of doing it at a high level. Obviously, we're trying things new all the time. Ultimately, it was a really good result, and I think it really shows some of the goal that this team have now, especially going forward with some of the players being exceptional. I thought overall the whole team played well in parts. I think there's arguments to be made that some players didn't have their best game ever. Overall, I think to a decent amount of level, that was a good team. Now, before the game, I actually expected Havertz to play in midfield and Jesus to play up front. Arteta's been going on about how he likes Jesus, and he didn't really play that. He went back to the Havertz up front system, which I think works the best for the team. I thought yet again he was excellent. Obviously, I think there was some times where he lost the ball in midfield by poor play, you would say, but ultimately he drives his team forward and is such a great facilitator around every spot. Now, I did a video about Xerxes earlier and I explained how he does have a little bit of a Kai Havertz role, and it is definitely a blueprint for teams that don't have an out-and-out striker. Just have someone that can go into any sort of spot in the team and help players all the time. And also being 6'4" and very physical does make him an aerial threat and very good at duels and winning head-ons. And in this game, Havertz did exactly what you expected. He did loads of defensive actions, he did loads of duels he got himself involved in, and although not having the most touches in the game, because at the end of the day he is up front against a team that are mostly defending, he is creating things, he's getting shots away. He had lots of shots in this game, and ultimately he is becoming a better player every week. The first goal was brilliant. Saka gets the space down the wing and he gets in there, makes a brilliant run and gets in front of the goalkeeper to score the first goal of the Premier League season for us. Now, you know how it works. We're going to go more tactical insights probably tomorrow and the other days coming up, but right now we're just going to go through what happened and who the best players were. And another player we have to talk about is Saka. Now, I'll probably do a separate video on Saka because for me he was definitely the best player on the pitch, but he is really good. I mean, we all know that, but I just can't believe how good this player is. All game they kept giving him space, Wolves, out on that right side. They kept not really pressing him that much, and they would get two players on him a bit deeper later. By then it was too late. He was being able to do them great crosses, and even the second goal where he gets that shot away near post. Ultimately, he is becoming a player every single season, and I think Saka and Havertz are going to have a really high goals and assist tally by the end of the year. You can see the confidence is flowing between these players, and it's sort of that confidence that I don't know if some of these guys had at the start of last year. Obviously Saka did, but did Havertz have that? I don't think so. And even people like Rice are now familiar with the squad, and I think he looked a lot more comfortable in there. And speaking about players improving into their second year at the club, we've got to talk about David Raya. Now, I've said that I think it's going to be a big year for him, and I think towards the end of last season he was really good. And obviously it's not necessarily a shot stopping thing with him, it's a lot more. He brings calmness, he brings a lot of control in the box with catching crosses, but not only did he bring that in majority of this game, his shot stopping was brilliant. He made some really key saves for Arsenal when we needed him the most, which I couldn't say he did, especially at the start of last year. And that save from that header in the first half from Larson getting onto it is brilliant adjustment to get there and get a great tip onto it. And sometimes our passing, especially in the second half, was a little bit bad, I'd say, defensively. I think our defensive shape was a bit outmatched, kind of because we didn't know how Wolves were going to press, and I think Thomas Partey wasn't very disciplined in his position. He kind of didn't really help the defenders as much as you would want. This meant we did give the ball away sometimes. Sometimes you could say it's Raya's fault. I don't really think it was in the Saliba instance when he passes it off. But overall, I think there was a lot of nerves within the team, I think because it's the first game of the season, and I think he mostly got away with that and was very good at calming down the defence, and overall he was a brilliant leader that game. Now, I will touch onto that a bit. I do think sometimes our defence looked a bit confused in this game, and I think maybe it's nerves because it's the first season. There's a lot of expectation on the team. First game, you know, we've got a lot to go for, but I'm not going to act like the defence was bad because it really wasn't. Wolves only had around a 0.4 XG. They didn't really create too much other than a couple of long shots and individual mistakes I would say Arsenal made with the ball that gave them shots Robertson goal, but it wasn't like they were creating really good opportunities and breaking through our defence easily. It was more of an individual part that which we know will get better throughout the season, and when the nerves go down a bit, these players are good enough to be able to not make their mistakes again. And that's the thing, I don't think anyone actually played really bad for Arsenal. I think as a team we were very good, but them individual mistakes need to get better, and I'm still not necessarily sure on Thomas Partey in midfield. Sometimes he looks really good and he's really alert at putting the ball through, but also sometimes he's just a bit slow and loses the ball in bad positions and doesn't help the defence with being enough pressure. He doesn't really have that pace consistently anymore, and I think sometimes that does help Arsenal, where I think if Declan Rice was in that 6th position it would make us a lot better. And that's also another thing. I think Rice in this game was really good in the second half, I think, at progressing the ball and running with it, and he also did back up Martinelli a few times when Martinelli definitely should have put the ball back to him. But I think you can see that it's still not a natural position for him. He's so versatile, he can do it, but I think I'd rather see him in the 6 where he could be better than what I think Partey would be. And of course this all matters. If we sign Mourinho, then Mourinho would play in that position right now. So I still think there's a few tweaks we need to make with the midfield, because I still think this midfield allows us not to have complete pressure on the ball the whole time, and sometimes this could lead to bad things in the Premier League, and ultimately Arsenal want pressure all the time. And I do think Arsenal are trying not to show all their cards too early. Now of course we didn't do that many substitutions, only Timber, Trossard and Jesus came on for people like Saka, who finally came off with 10 minutes to go, so that looks a little bit decent. At least he's going to give that guy a rest when the game seems to be settled. And people like Calafiori did not come on for his debut, and Jorginho did not come on in the end. Now of course it's a long season, I think these are all going to get considerable game time, but it's very interesting that he didn't do many subs early on, because he's trying to make this system work with these players. I also think it is interesting that Kivior was not within the team. Obviously he is linked to a leave, and obviously I think Arsenal are trying to get him to be sold, and he was not injured and wasn't within the squad. And people like Ethan Nwaneri actually got the call up and was on the bench, and I expect him to be on the bench most of the season. Now unfortunately I don't think we have enough room for Lewis Skelly, who's also looked incredible for the under-21, but you might see them on the bench quite a lot, and I think Ethan Nwaneri at 17 is pretty much within the main team now and not the under-21s. Of course people like Eddie and Reece Nelson are still on the bench, which could be sold, and that could offer space for people like Lewis Skelly to come in. Of course it is very important that Arsenal continue this form going into the next few games. We've got incredible hard games coming up, such as Villa, Tottenham and Man City, and the Villa game is next, so it'll be very interesting to see what we do against a very good side. Wolves are decent, and they did prove to be quite a threat at times. Everyone in the Premier League will be like that, but it was a good victory in the end where we dominantly won, I think, and when Saka got that goal it calmed the nerves and we were very easy on the ball. And if Saka and Havertz are going to be playing with this sort of form, I have no worries about the team going forward, and it'd be lovely to see us make a few more signings, which apparently are in the works as we speak. Let me know what you guys think about this game, and if you like this video please like and subscribe for any more Arsenal content, and I'll see you in the next one.